Morning, everyone. We would like to welcome you once again for the second day of NPSC. The keynote session of the day is going to start. The first session is Glimpses of Accounting and Settlement in Indian Power System by Shri S.K. Soonee. And this session will be chaired by Professor S.P. Singh. First, I would like to introduce Professor S.P. Singh. S.P. Singh received the BE and ME degree in Electrical Engineering from Allahabad University, India in 1978 and 1981 respectively, and the PhD degree in Power Systems from Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. He was a postdoc fellow as Boys Cast Fellow with the University of Calgary, Canada from 1993 to 1994 and a visiting fellow under Royal Society INSA Fellowship with the Brunel University, London, UK in 2004 for 3 months. He joined the Electrical Engineering Department, BHU, as a lecturer. He is currently serving as a professor with the Electrical Engineering Department, IIT BHU. His research interests include electricity market, deregulation, distribution automation, wide area measurements, and smart grids. Dr. Singh is a fellow of Institution of Engineers and life member of System Society of India. So we would like to welcome you, sir. Professor S.P. Singh, sir, please take over. Please give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, here it is. Please.
I will briefly, good morning to all of you, and you are welcome to this keynote address on glimpses of accounting and settlement in Indian power system by Sri S.K. Soonee. I will briefly give a sketch of Mr. Soonee. Sri S.K. Soonee obtained his B.Tech honors degree from the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur in 1977. He specializes in power system operation planning, commercial settlement, restoration, and the entire gamut of power pooling and governance. He is the advisor and farmer and founder CEO of Grid Controller of India, formerly known as Power System Operation and Cooperation of India. S.K. Soonee has 4 decades of first-hand experience in power system operation across various regional grids in India. He has worked extensively towards the integration of grids, leading to the formation of the national grid and now SARC grid. He has represented India on the SIGRE Study Committee C2 on Power System Operation and SIGRE Study Committee C5 on Electricity Markets and Regulation. Thank you very much. I invite Mr. Soonee to take over this session.
Sir, you would like to stay there?
No, let me see if it, yeah, it's going.
Yes.
But it's not moving here. Okay.
It's full screen.
It's full
It's
screen.
extended towards left. You want to show?
No, I should be able to see this.
See this.
No,
No, sir.
yeah, okay, okay.
When you go next, it will.
Morning, everyone. First of all, thanks NPSC for giving me this opportunity. So, Bhadram Karane bhi Shunyam Deva Swastinendro Viddhasravaha. सुन के वृद्ध हो गए हैं या वृद्ध को सुन के ज्ञानी हो गए हैं. That is the question. So, I have picked up a very, very non-glamorous topic, slightly boring, maybe not fitting to the issues which apparently appear to be connected to reliability, resilience, and carbon neutral future. But I'll start with a story. We have a group of grid operators in the world. Geo15 now it is called. Earlier it used to be a very large part. So during those meetings, in the initial meetings, in the offline, we used to discuss that what is the worry. So Terry Boston, at that time of PJM, so I asked him that what is your worry? He asked me what is my worry. So we were sharing. So one is of course fear of security of the grid. Worst case scenario that grid will collapse. That everybody knows. But what is it that we have not shared with others but we are afraid of? And he said that at the end of every accounting system with all these markets, the result should come out and I should not be in trouble. And it simply, synchronized with my thought. So I realized that if we are afraid of something, we must speak out. Dar lage to gana gao. If I am afraid as a CEO of an organization about grid security, and the next is about the accounting and settlement, we must talk about it. So that's why I have gathered courage to speak before such an exalted audience about this topic. Time given to me is 35 minutes. Unfortunately, we started 20 minutes late for no reason. This I don't pardon myself and in turn to everyone. This discipline has to come. We must start in time, end in time. So, I have 35 slides, supposed to be covered within 35 minutes. So you can see the challenge before me. See, again, this is not working. Hello? Hello? I need help. Technology challenge person. Hello? It's not working. No?
Sir, it's working.
It's working? No? Just a moment. What mistake I made?
Please, just a second,
Yeah?
Actually, it is not in presentation. That's right. This is.
So let me start with the first thing that this subject is extremely important. In my BTech degree at Kharagpur, I had one course on accounting and one on economics. I never realized that those two only I will be utilizing maximum in my practice. So first of all, don't underestimate accounting and settlement, starting from our, Vedic times. But what is very mesmerizing is what was written in that. Every detail should be recorded. Registers should be maintained. System of examination of accounts, and even details of punishment for default. Way back in how many years? And then Bahi Khata. Double entry system based on the principles of Bahi Khata system. I'll come back to this, that I only realized when I started doing accounting in power system, that how to account for ancillary. Pehle likh piche de, fir ghate to bahi se le. Very basic principle. So let me quickly take few seconds how to understand electric power systems. I haven't understood. The more I read, listen to everybody. So first of all, it's a commodity, fungible, homogeneous, non-homogeneous, cancels each other, follows Carnot's behavior, frequency will be the same, whether you are paying anything, your exchange rate changes, whether your money is in locker or not. Schedules. Schedules are commitments. Contracts are converted into schedule. It's less of a technical and more of a contracting part of it. Exact delivery never happens, it's only a coincidence. And the most interesting part is, meters do not recognize contracts. Everybody puts into the hole, everybody draws from the hole. 99% of money settlement happens without meter. So Jack Casada, 6 networks describing the industry: the physical network, the fuel and energy network, the regulatory network, the business network, the money network, and information and control network. And accounting and settlement cuts across all these 6 networks. And the research faculty also, I was thinking that at the end of the session, what is there for the research? So it's now a multi-faculty subject. It's no more only physical network. The regulatory, the business, the money portion also has to be included. Otherwise, it's very difficult to implement any of the schemes. So fundamental questions. If everybody is putting into the whole, everybody is withdrawing from the whole, who pays to whom for what and how much at the end of the day? And it has to be dispute-free. It has to be absolutely clear to everyone. Who approves, who schedules, who measures, who keeps the accounts, how it is settled, how transparency is ensured, and how trust is built in the whole system. There are complexity of settlement systems: single part, 2-part, gross settlement, net settlement, period of settlement, cycle of settlement. I'll come to that one by one. But the point I'm trying to drive at, that these questions have to be asked every time you design any kind of a market. Electricity market, all of us know about Sally Hunt, my mentor in absentia, these 4 pillars. But when I think of these 4 pillars, this is an axiom. All the theorems of market will stand on these 4 pillars. But below this pillar, there is accounting and settlement. Sally Hunt was also an academician, mostly. So if the soil testing is not proper, then the pillars themselves are not very stable. But in the morning, Sunday morning, let me first energize everybody that what I'm talking is of what dimension. Approximate volume of rupees crore per year. Deviation charge 30,000 crore. 1,000 crore is the residual which is transferred to Power System Development Fund. Short-term transmission charge is of 5,000 crore rupees. Long-term transmission charge is 50,000 crore rupees. Ancillary services, 2,000 crore. Security constraint optimization, giving relief of 2,000 crore rupees. AGC, secondary, 1,000 crore, 100 crores. Congestion charge, when explicit congestion is applied, 10 crore. Congestion revenue out of power exchange when the market splits is of the order of 100 crore. Even reactive charge is 50 crores per year. Fixed charge is 100 crores, fuel charge is 100 crores, and the market is of 50,000 crores. So 3 to 4 lakh crore we are talking about. I did a bit of a survey of all the other industries and systems. There are good literature, but still I would say that it's very difficult to understand that how people do it. Not very well documented, not very well researched, not very well borrowed from other walks of life. And I met a gentleman from Europe market last month. He was from finance, and now he is fully in the electricity market. And he made me realize that electricity system is decades old compared to what finance system is. And I'll talk about that also. So clearing is necessary because the speed of the trade is much faster than the cycle time of completing the transaction. That's the beauty of electricity. We do trade very fast, but settling it, the money has to come finally, and that takes a lot of time. A bit of more, NSOE, but prior to that, we know UCTE and UCPTE. UCTE policy P2, I read and I realized what a powerful statement. Now you have control area, control block, coordination centers, such a big grid. 2 principles. Accounting is from bottom to top, and settlement is from top to bottom. Otherwise, imagine in Europe, how do they do the settlement? We need to borrow all these things in Indian system. We have borrowed, but still we are at a very, very rudimentary level, if I may say so. So if something is very complex, what is the first principle which professors have taught us? Unbundle, break it into the different problems. That's the way to solve the complex problem. So we have to have different expertise, like a contract is made, a trade is made. Where does he register his trade for physical delivery? Where does he get confirmation? Where it is cleared, where it is scheduled? Who does the metering? Who does the billing? How the adjustments are done? How again the clearing takes place and finally the settlement comes up. You know, everybody talks about bundling, hybridization, but finally at the end of the day, it is only packaging. We need to schedule each entity. So unbundling a service and service providers is actually extremely important. And clearing, I was thinking that clearing is a term, but when you go deep into the subject, it's from accounts, not from electrical engineering, so it's neglected mostly by the power engineers. Clearing, basic definition is the act or process of making or becoming clear. How clear definition of clearing? So we need clearing at every stage. So hundreds of utilities, and we saw that network of organizations. Organizational engineering is taking place. POSOCO has become Grid India, Power Grid has carved out CTUIL, and somebody is selling, somebody is buying, and every time something of this kind reorganization happens, in the physical system, there is a boundary created. And every control area has to be bounded by meters, recognize its jurisdiction, and so on. There links it with the regulatory network. Then interlinks with the money network. The middle diagram is the Russian doll, doll within the doll, within the doll, doll within the doll. So you have national network, you have regional network, you have state network, and then international network. Look at this complex network, and you have to identify every area because jurisdiction changes. Fortunately, at bulk level, there is no leakage or no theft. That is for sure. If something is wrong, it is in the accounting or in the CTPT. So it's less of an administrative issue and more of a technical issue. But what will happen when we will have fragmented control areas? For example, say railways. If we take all the railways together, there are hundreds of points. How do we make them as one organization? Contiguous area versus fragmented area. There are very good literature by Larry Day that with technology you should be able to handle. How do we handle aggregator? Unfortunately, aggregator has not yet come. Why it has not come? Everybody wants it to happen in India. Why it has not come? If you go deep into it, it is the fear of accounting and settlement that is dissuading people from plunging into the aggregation. Theory, it's very simple that you add all of them, you aggregate. But when it comes to money and settlement, it becomes very complex. So come to meter. 1% only billing is on meter, only on deviation. But where to put meter, where is the jurisdiction, all those things have to be seen. And the problem I was referring to Professor Bose day before yesterday, what do we do with the bad data detection of meter readings? Because money involved is huge. We don't have a state estimator because there is no network. Of course, there are statistical techniques and data science through which people struggle to find out the bad meter data, but I feel that this is one area where some research should be done. We tried many of them, but either it is not a very glamorous topic or something, but this is a problem. And if it is a problem for the operator, it should be a problem for the research fraternity also. They need to work on it so that life becomes easier for the practitioners. I mentioned that scheduling is a contract. We have long-term, medium-term, short-term, bilateral, collective, through trader, through power exchange, through OTC platform. Then you have ancillary, then you have SCED redispatch, and many, many kinds of things would keep on developing. But if you look at them very generically, one, many, and pool, there are three kinds of one. One-to-one, one-to-pool, many pool to many, many to pool, many pool to one, pool to pool, pool to pool, many pool to many. Recognizing this difference and its nuance is a very, a priori for any market product. You have bilateral, you have ancillary. Ancillary you don't dispatch to any individual entity, you dispatch to the pool, interregional, cross-border ancillary service. The whole regional grid frequency is going down, we are asking, let's say, Bhutan to increase, it has to be accounted for. So please think it in this fashion, and problem would appear of a different dimension, easier said than done. That you dispatch, but how do I account for? And then, I have just borrowed few good quotes. They make a lot of sense. A good accountant is a good poet. He appreciates the true value of things. So now let me come to what are these long terms. Long-term contracts are multi-part. Fixed cost, variable cost, incentives, multi-settlement, net pool. There are detailing of it. Transmission treatment is also different. Billing, collection, and disbursement is different. What is mutually settled? What is bilaterally settled? And then, if the multi-fuel, complexity further increases. So I have seen best of power system operators have total clarity about the transaction, reading the regulation from source to sink, how the money will flow, how the information will flow, and how the energy will flow. Energy will flow by physics, and we have learnt a lot. But how the money will flow and how the information will flow is the real challenge before us. And all activities from the time a commitment for a transaction is made until it is settled, it's not complete. There is a lighter side joke I have seen, no work is complete unless the paperwork is complete. Short term, which now we are calling as TGNA, temporary GNA. Again, two parts in it, bilateral and collective. So in bilateral, it's understandable, easy. But when it becomes collective, double-sided bidding, group of people bid for it, and then group of people buy from it, there is no one-to-one correspondence. And it has a great influence on transmission pricing, losses, accounting, settlement, balancing, everything. But one good thing about either of these is they all come as balanced. Power exchange always gives a balance schedule, bilateral balance schedule. Every debit is by credit, every open bracket is with a closed bracket. Without that, it doesn't work. And when you have only an open bracket, that becomes even more an accounting challenge, which I will talk about it. So life is like accounting, everything must be balanced, which we always follow in power system too. Now let me talk about loss. Loss is one of the most complex topic in the power system, if I think of. How the loss is calculated? Very simple, total injection minus total draw is the loss. But where do you put the meter? What all meters you add? What all meters you subtract? No double counting, nothing should get missed. This is a challenge. And there are very stalwart operators who have seen errors which have resulted into the loss for because somebody's drawal got inside the loss. So one has to be very careful that you account for everything. So loss calculation is a subject, but loss is a very lossy subject. It's quadratic function, but a second order problem because it's of the order of 0.03%. It is adjusted in kind, not paid in cash. Every 15 minutes we compute it. Ex ante we have to declare the loss. You can't say that I will declare the loss tomorrow. And the problem with this is that when what is trued up, actual loss will never be what you have estimated. So now who handles that loss difference? Would you like a supplementary bill after the trade is complete that no, my loss instead of 4.03, it is now 3.9? Who will pay? Who will check and verify? And pancaking and whether you apply loss on average or loss on marginal. I see many research papers. I have a Google alert on all the topics which bother me, so loss is one of them. And I see beautiful research paper on loss. Marginal of marginal of marginal, fourth decimal place, and this is how you can do it. But I think that when it comes to truing up, how in the country as a whole, the loss, and loss is not a small amount. 200 gigawatts, 4% loss, 8 gigawatts. 2 ultra super are only required for energizing the grid. And somebody has to pay for it, and you have to be open to audits. So I would just say that keep it simple. KISS principle. And when some research goes on, one should see how to simplify things also. Otherwise, loss can become a nightmare. And yesterday you saw LDC Excellence Award. There is one KPI. How many people calculate loss every 15 minutes in the LDCs? I don't think even a single SLDC is doing it. And even if it is doing it, if you see their plot, you will be surprised how the loss is changing so violently in every 15 minutes. Part of it is error, because you can't differentiate between error and the loss when you compute it. So that's again takes me to Harris and Golding book of measurement. To what decimal place I do, where do I round off, and all such things. So, but I only want to say that this is also a problem. Just to give you a glimpse, see if you have 3%, 5% loss between A and B, so one is that you make A rise by 3%, reduce B by 5%, and that's how they are adjusted. Another is no, 100, you sell 100, you have to pay 97, 97, and then 92.15. Variety is a way in the way the loss can be shared by the thing. This is a topic by itself. But, and we are from the industry are responsible for not documenting it well, the complexity and the modalities if you implement it. But one thing I have learned is, learn, unlearn, and relearn. We have seen in the loss, starting from very simple postage stamp on yearly basis to 9 slabs, back to all India average loss now. So this is something which is an issue for accounting and settlement. So now come to pool accounts. Why do we have to go for pool? Because it is not possible for one-to-one settlement. So deviation settlement, it's not possible to do one-to-one settlement. Reactive energy, not possible to do one-to-one. Congestion, if it happens, who has caused congestion? Causer pays principle, polluter pays principles are all fine. But to trace it to the right person who has caused is very difficult. Then transmission, now we have taken it as a common carrier, so that account. Ancillary when we dispatch. And I tell you ancillary dispatch, the problem, I will come to the next slides. And then similarly on the security constraint, pool accounts are way beyond one-to-one. And the period, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, hourly measurement, you can have PMU measurements, but which one would you use for, clearing? Then settlement period, T plus 1, T plus 21, T plus 30. How much granularity of accounting we need to go? Depends on the purpose. But for example, transmission charges for every 15 minutes based on the meter reading is an overkill. it's good to model it, but it's not that every time you on the road, the distance which you are traveling, the speed which you are traveling, if the tax changes, it's very difficult to do. So science is the art of appropriate approximation. Where to approximate is very, very important. And behind every good business, there is a great accountant. Regional energy account. It has been there in India since 1980s, the day we got the shared plants. And there are very good some publications. And I realized that first of all, it is not regional power account, it's energy account at that time itself. And at that time, there was no scheduling, no market. Still, the accounts had to be prepared. Who will pay to whom? And I would say that very rarely there has been note of dissent by the commissioners. But this is one case where there has been note of dissent among CRC members on who should make accounts. So it has a very checkered history. Now things have stabilized, so it looks fine. But at the core is the legality, the credibility, the neutrality, acceptability of the accountants by the stakeholders. So nowadays when I go to other power pools where they are emerging, and I find that this is the biggest issue. And that's where probably the blockchain could have helped. I am not sure about it. I have at least anybody who wants to do something on, and now also the present leadership also is inviting everybody to work on the blockchain. But the real results, something has to be done about this. So now deviation account, all of you know what you contracted, what you delivered, there is a difference in that. And the word accounting comes from the word accountability. So if you don't do proper deviation accounting, the accountability is lost. And if you don't have correct pricing, then the incentive is lost. And that's what we are seeing since 5th of this month, yeah. I will not get into further details, but suffice it to say that imbalance account is of 30,000 crore rupees. It's a huge money. Then comes reactive energy account. We have reactive energy account, and there is a pool account. But then unlike active energy, this pool account itself is either short or long. How do you handle that? Because reactive energy balancing is a different topic altogether. The other thing is, we need dynamic reactive power. All of us know about it with more IBRs, with renewable energy integration, everything. But then the question is, how do we measure those dynamic VARs? How do we price? And how do we account? And how do we settle? That is more of a challenge. We have a paper on this again, that how do we convert thermal power or retired thermal power station into Syncon, and how do we still, the methods of reactive power pricing is a subject. The other one is the congestion charge. Again, who triggers? And when the congestion has occurred, who has helped? Who has penalized the grid? And who is hurting the grid? And how it is to be accounted for. One thing is certain, the accounting just increases the transparency. If you can bring more and more clarity, there will be more confidence and more transparency in the whole system. Ancillary services. We all know that when there is a need, the load dispatcher dispatches to the pool, not to any individual. How do we account for it? Create a pool? Yeah. So even if we create a pool, we need a virtual regional entity. That was the point when we brought it. And double entry bookkeeping is one of the greatest discoveries of European civilization. That is what is said. And in power system, we need to understand double entry system. Time for settlement, 21 days it takes. This was decided 21 years ago, but it is still continuing. Fintech has moved so fast. Why we cannot do it in one day? But for that will require all the systems and processes to be changed. Transmission, We are all still learning. We heard yesterday also. From GNA, we are moving to GNA and TGNA. We are moving from KCL to KVL. It's a very fundamental shift. So how it will be built? So people are accustomed of thinking accounting as a dry and boring, a necessary evil used primarily for financial audits. But that is because accounting is something that has been taken for granted. So my message would be that every market design which you do, go up to the final settlement. Transparency is the hallmark, and everything has to be put on the website. To what granularity? If there is an error, all those are questions, including CT ratio changes and PT ratio changes, if anywhere in the grid. Reconciliation, huge subject. There can be error, best of softwares, and hence keep calm and carry on reconciling. The first thing is put everything, allow it to be scrutinized by public at large and by all the stakeholders. We need single window clearance. And then associated issues, which was prompted by Mr. Narasimhan just when I were TDS, taxation, PAN numbers. We need financial experts. We need experts who are expert in power system, expert in finance. And that's the combo. We need, old divers, we need bold divers. We need good old bold divers. We need power system engineers, we need people with finance, taxation, and everything, accounting and settlement. Emerging challenges, as I said, Russian doll, doll within doll. So from anywhere to anywhere, when it is settled, how to account for, how to trace it. Accounting for the most part remains a legalistic and traditional practice. And the complexity is increasing. That we all understand, the number of players are increasing. Future challenge, new products have to be accounted for. Storage device. Pump storage also, if he has to participate in the ancillary, which it would, how the round trip efficiency will be taken care of in the accounting, and while drafting the regulation would be a challenge. Renewable energy certificate, tracing of it is a challenge everywhere. Carbon trade, we have heard about it. How do we track all that? And then that's where the blockchain, SIM, big data, AI, all these would have to come on this practical. So, I like Oscar Wilde, romance should never begin with sentiment. It should begin with science and end up with settlement. Settlement is the end of the things. It's an ever-evolving faculty, bookkeeping, accounting, clearing, and settlement for robust, sustainable, ease of doing business, building confidence and trust in the market and the system. That's what we are all supposed to bring in. Few slides, I'm running late, I know, I've got a one chit. So, we need to borrow from financial sector. What was in 2010 and what is in 2020? We are all reaping benefits so much. And every time I do a transaction, I am mesmerized. IMPS, NEFT, RTGS, any kind of a thing, even a vegetable vendor, everybody is taking on mobile to mobile. Yesterday, Mr. Anil Sardana was saying that on the app I should be able to buy and see. For that, we power system engineers also have to rise to that. Clearing and settlement. What was in 2010 and what is in 2020. Banking sector. Huge interbanking clearances. Now even you wire transfer from anywhere in the world you can get with all the exchanges, conversion of currency and everything. And just last week I saw Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report, BRSR, for utilities. What an exhaustive document. Accountants are far ahead of it. Us. Fintech is way ahead of power system. And we should not think that that is not our topic. It influences the business and it has to be brought in. There are 19 principles of accounting. When we were designing our own, when the country, connecting country was very easy. Technical challenge, everybody understands. But settling it was a challenge. And then my young team made me read all those 19 principles of accounting. What a beautiful principles of accounting. You know, matching principle, duality principles, double entry principle, cost principle, completion principle, faithful representative principles. How do you clear? So neutrality principle, relevance principle, reliability principle. I realized that it's a very rich subject and there is so much to borrow from it to the power system. And probably they have borrowed a lot from power system, but power system has yet to borrow from the faculties which have developed. So only accountants can save the world through peace, goodwill, and reconciliation. So some glossaries on standard terminologies, huge number of terminologies. The definitions are not clear. Somebody is in different parts of this country. So next 3 slides on what was done on this. There was a report which was prepared by Forum of Regulators, scheduling, accounting, metering, and settlement of transaction. So I am talking about all what has been talked about elsewhere. Market design, market actually has happened. Everything has happened. The time is over. Now tell me the accounts, who will get what. So all the sections are there. The policies have said that let there be such and such, but we need work on that. And the problem is a lack of transparency results in distrust and a deep sense of insecurity. People don't say, but they are worried. And time is short, otherwise I would have told that I was once completely cornered by 6 joint secretaries. That something is wrong in your grid. I said, what it is, sir? They said that somebody has injected, he has taken coal, and now that is lost in the grid. You don't know what is happening. And then they all came and started scrutinizing us. The toughest audit we have ever gone. But our team showed them everything that you ask, and we will show you from source to sink what is happening. And everything is on website. So somehow we could come out of it. But the point I'm making is that this subject is extremely important. Different states are in different level of evolution. Some are yet to even appreciate it. Leave us out regulations or anything. So we need to, and the strength of the chain is by the weakest link, and we have states who have absolutely nothing. So how to run a common market? There are various recommendations of scheduling, accounting, SAMAS report, governance structure. We need IT infrastructure, we need skill set, human resources, open access registry, Mr. Saxena yesterday talked about, clearing and settlement, and we need distribution system operator. Tomorrow's, all this technology which we are thinking will not be possible for load dispatch centers. They would not be able to comprehend the problems. So all these things are there, and numbers have important story to tell, and they rely on you to give them a voice. We need to come out with all these numbers. So lastly, my parting thought, first of all, my gratitude to many of my mentors and many of my younger colleagues. They have helped me in not only learning for last 4 decades, but also in assembling this presentation and giving me the courage that, yes, sir, you can speak on this topic. And without their clearance, I could not have spoken. So it's a very mundane topic, but I always quote this. Engineers like to operate sophisticated power systems. Economists like to think about optimal incentive. Lawyers like to write about rules and agreements. But power sector reforms brings all of them into close contact, but none of them can succeed at their chosen task unless they work together in designing sustainable institutions. We need a clearing and settlement institution in India. We need a data sharing, data repository institution in India. And that institution building would take time. And the number is not years, it takes decade. That is my first-hand experience. If you want a good institution to be built, be prepared for a decade. So with this, thank you very much for listening to this.
Can we have a brief question-answer session if anyone want to ask any question? Sir, Mike.
Don't ask tough questions. Then I have to pass it on to the younger colleagues who actually do it.
Sir, in your second slide,
Uh-huh.
You compared I think, amount of imbalance settlement and the day-ahead market amount. I think 30,000 crore and 50,000 crore.
Yeah, this one.
Yes.
Yeah, so
So
what
the
is...
first part, deviation charge handled,
Huh.
that is 30,000
Yes,
crore, and
yes.
the last value of market trade.
Yes.
So how does it compare with other countries? Because I think they are in India, they are both are comparable, and people are using deviation instead of market trades. It should be market trade should be 10 times higher than deviation, ideally.
Yeah, so actually one topic I did not write, how do you define market is one thing. If tomorrow we get into financial derivatives, it will be 100 times of this. So in our case, we are actually doing only physical market. And that too only not even once it is circulated. The churn ratio, somebody asked me, what is the churn ratio of market in India? We don't know even. Whereas in a developed markets, they always track how much is the churn ratio, which is of the order of 9. And in our country, it will be 1.2. So, when you compare, Professor, from one power system to other power system, don't compare the numbers so easily. Don't take them. Their definition, their way they have been designed, that's why I was telling about glossaries and definitions and understanding. They have AS, making 0 AS is a sacrosanct. But we don't have that. Remember, it has its own strength. The larger balancing area is saying nothing but saying that don't have AS0. So, and I will stop here, but we can on the offline discuss a lot, and we keep discussing this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone?
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful presentation. It was really overwhelming. Sir, I would like to highlight one thing you have mentioned, that though accounting has to be decentralized, settlement has to be centralized.
No. I'm totally averse to words centralized, if I may. So, centralized came because of the historical baggage. Even this whole central government itself is wrong. It's a union government. Okay. So, settlement has to be from top to bottom. It has to go. Accounting has to be from bottom to top. It does not mean that there will be centralized. Any centralization is bad, including that of any kind of power. Do it in a distributed fashion and achieve what you could have achieved in a centralized model also. It is possible. Theory says it is possible, but difficult to implement. So I would not say that you should have. For example, settlement corporation is there. We have a settlement corporation in financial sector. You have. Now, there are layers. That's what I was trying to show you. That there are layers and layers. Every banking does something, and then finally banks go somewhere else and get it cleared. It is not a centralized thing. Okay? So one has to understand. For example, all our transactions, if we do, become centralized. Imagine the workload on RBI. They can't think of. So same thing, I would say that it is all, federated, and there is a system of things moving up and down. That's the concept. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just another question, sir, I would like to ask is that one of the biggest fears about in the fintech also regarding crypto and Bitcoin is that it will have a kind of a decentralized architecture of settlement and accounting. While in the energy sector, one of the main primary characteristic of energy is that it has to be constantly balanced, the generation and the consumption at the speed of light.
Yeah.
So when we are talking about this decentralized architecture of accounting settlement, what is the implication of scheduling from the perspective of the system operator, sir?
So absolute clarity on this. First, allow everybody else to do the balancing themselves. And if there are any error, then as a topping should come the load dispatch center. But load dispatch center cannot do the basic balancing, which is the responsibility of every load serving entity. So you don't think that everything will be centralized. All the loads responsibilities of meeting by. Yes, you will come in. You have some reserves. That's only for exigencies, and that has to be of a small order. See, the entire ancillary services anywhere in the world is not more than 2%. PGM with all these things is of the order of 1%. It is like salt to the food. You cannot become, salt cannot become, ancillary cannot become very large. So that's the point here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Please give a big round of applause for S.K. Soonee, sir. Now I would like to request Professor S.N. Singh, sir, to present token of thanks to S.K. Soonee, sir. Please give a big round of applause for S.K. Soonee, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Soonee, for interesting lecture you delivered just now, though you told that it is a very not interesting subject, but you increase the interest among the audience. In my view, electricity market is nothing but looking the answer of two questions. One is, can electricity be treated like other commodities? Can it be traded like other commodities? If the answer of these two questions is yes, then whatever is to be done in the existing system under the constraint that the electricity cannot be stored in large amount, and in this fulfillment, the aspect of accounting and settlement, whatever was addressed by Mr. Soonee, which is normally ignored. Even a lot of literature is on other topics to look for the answer of the two questions I told you in the beginning. But this part is normally ignored, and Mr. Soonee has explained it very clearly. I hope the young researchers will take interest in this subject and make it interesting, because in days to come, this aspect has to be addressed by the electric companies. Thank you very much, Dr. Soonee.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now I would like to request Professor Anjan Bose. Please give a thanks to Professor S.P. Singh. Please put your hands together for Professor S.P. Singh, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. The session was very insightful. Sir told us about marketing, settlement, policies. If anyone has any doubts, so please directly contact or email right to S.K. Soonee, sir.